Is it safe to go back to school in June? Teachers' unions in England will meet government scientists amid concerns over the return to class.
A call for NHS workers who've treated coronavirus patients to get the same mental health support as soldiers returning from war.
It'll be like having, 15, 20 patients who are really, on the edge, who are going to die in the next few hours if you don't do anything every 12 hours. That's how bad it is.
Good morning. London's transport network gets a £1.6 billion bailout from the government. It stops the network running out of cash for now, but fares will rise to pay for it.
Good morning. The government says it's opening the door for the return of professional football in England in June. But how will that affect the lower league clubs?
Although that rate is slowing across the four nations of the UK, yesterday's figures showed 428 people had died from Covid-19 in the past 24 hours, taking the total to 33,614.
Take a look at today's papers, bring you up to date. Let's start with the Times, shall we? It says that Boris Johnson is preparing a much more interventionist approach to tackle obesity as part of the fight against coronavirus.
On the front page of the Daily Mirror, leading with a report by scientists at Manchester University, which predicts around 19 million people in Britain could have had the virus and got better.
The Daily Mail says the row between teachers and unions over when and how to reopen schools has exploded after the former Education Secretary David Blunkett accused unions of working against the interests of children.
And one of the most read stories on the BBC News website this morning is a warning from the wildlife charity, the RSPB, which says it has been overrun by reports of birds of prey being illegally killed since the lockdown started.
Charlie, I've got to ask you a question. You like this part of the morning, don't you?
Is it quiz time?
No, it's not really a quiz. Have you been reading more since lockdown has been imposed?
I would say yes.
And what kind of books do you read?
I'm not sure about novels. I've just been reading more generally. Picking up old books as well. I tend to read books over and over again.
Ah, OK. So if you were to think about what kind of books are being searched for or being bought now, what kind
DIY.
of type? No. Saucy novels.
Are you sure?
Well, according to this piece in the Mail, because passionate flings are now a thing of the past, those who are craving a lockdown love affair have taken a shining to romantic novels. It surged in popularity. Online searches have risen around 150%. And guess which parts of the country the searches are the most for romantic novels?
The Scottish Highlands.
Why did you say
I don't know. I have no idea why I said
Norfolk and the East. And then Yorkshire and Humber. Those are the areas where romance is craved.
Well, now, amongst the things that a lot of people...
Because people aren't searching for restaurants and cinemas anymore.
Right. Amongst the things people might be missing at the moment, cinemas.
There you go.
Cinemas, the joy of going to the cinema, just that shared experience. I know, there's lots of very difficult things at the moment. In amongst, doesn't really matter, but every once in a while people might think, oh, wouldn't it be nice to go to the cinema? Here, it's in The Guardian today, it's got a few people musing about wonderful cinema experiences from years ago. Tilda Swinton, for example, says that the year is 1980 and she's in Kenya. And there is a sheet hung on a tree in the middle of a village. Lots of local people. There's a cranky old generator and a cranky old projector which is running the thing. And it's a Western. They're showing a Western. So all the locals have come in to watch this film. And she says in the middle of the shootout in the saloon in the Western movie, a spear flung from the back of the crowd of the people watching the film, a spear is thrown that hits the baddie in the chest. In the sheet, if you can imagine. So the sheet is the film, and it hits the baddie in the chest and then stays dangling in the heart of the sheet right up to the final romantic clinch.
Oh, so someone watching through the spear?
Yes. So it's in the middle of the scene where there's a shootout and the baddie gets the spear in the chest, but of course the spear stays in the sheet, which is the film screen, for the rest of the film. So it's still hanging there at the end of the film. Unforgettable, she says. Magic cinema dreams. And there's a few other people as well.
Actually, that tells you can make your own cinema at home, if you can find a projector, obviously, with a sheet.
Well, you can, yeah.
Just hang a sheet up.
Yeah.
Do that. Don't throw any spears.
No, don't do
that. That would not help. Union leaders representing teachers and school staff are going to meet the government's top scientific advisers later today. They're seeking reassurance that reopening schools in England next month will be safe.
Teachers have expressed concern that social distancing will be difficult to implement and have questioned why face coverings aren't being advised. But the Education Secretary has insisted the safety of pupils and teachers is his #1 priority.
Transport for London has secured a £1.6 billion bailout from the government to keep services running until September. The network had seen its income virtually disappear as passenger numbers dropped by more than 90% during the lockdown. London's Mayor Sadiq Khan said the terms of support meant that commuters would have to pay a heavy price with fare rises.